Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, what a great experience just being here, isn't it? Our whole life has been a journey to this moment. What a great moment to be in, isn't it? And that we're sharing it together. And I fully believe the unexpected always comes bearing gifts. And I want to share a little story about how that kind of appeared to me. Travel light, a concept that I will fully admit is not very complex, is it? We've all kind of heard it before. But I also have to admit to you, it took me 10 years and an unexpected journey across the ocean to even begin to understand how I could incorporate this into my life and see it transform my life in extraordinary ways. And it's still a journey that I'm on. 10 years ago, I saw a title to a book that was very intriguing to me. I always remember the title once I saw it one time, and the title was, "Where Are We Going So Fast?" Good question, isn't it? I also have to admit to you, I didn't buy the book. I was probably in a hurry. I don't know, but I didn't buy the book. But I always remember that. Now, 10 years later, the follow-up question to that kind of came to my mind while I was on this journey that I'm going to share with you. And the follow-up question was, not only where are we going so fast, but why are we trying to take so much with us? Why do we do that? September 5th, 2011, just a little over a year ago, I found myself on a plane headed for Madrid. I got off the plane, got onto a bus, headed to a city in northwest Spain called Pamplona. Anybody familiar with the running of the bulls? I was not there for the running of the bulls. I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. I got off the bus, and I took this backpack out from underneath the bus. I put it on my back. I found an ancient trail called the Camino de Santiago. It's been traveled for over 1,200 years. You just find the path. There's no tour guide. There's no group that you go with. You just find the path and start walking. It's marked by symbols of scallop shells and yellow arrows, and you hope you can stay on the path because most of it is not in civilized area. You're between small villages and sometimes going through large cities. And I began a walk that was going to cover 28 days and 350 miles. Now this pilgrimage it begins in many different places. This is probably most traditional one across northern Spain. And it always ends in the same place, Santiago, because the Cathedral of Santiago is there, and it's said that the remains of St. James were entombed in this cathedral, so pilgrims travel there. The pilgrims come from every race, creed, and culture, every traditional teaching on the planet to travel this Camino de Santiago. And there's as many reasons for traveling the Camino as there are pilgrims. So why was I there? Well, actually, it wasn't a why, it was a who. There she is. This is the adventurous love of my life. Her name is Karen. She looks innocent, doesn't she? Do not believe that. If you spend enough time with Karen, she will eventually talk you into going on adventures, unexpected adventures, that you would never sign up for with your own rational mind. But that's just part of her charm. It's part of who she is. Now, in 2005, Karen actually went on the Camino de Santiago with some other family members. She didn't ask me to go. I was glad she didn't ask me to go. I didn't want to go, right? But she went. Now, she's halfway through the journey. I get a phone call from Spain. It's Karen. She's physically exhausted. Her feet are injured. She's got toenails lifting off of her toes from blisters underneath. And she's saying to me, "Ted, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what, please, do not ever let me do anything like this ever again." I said, "Babe, I'll do that. I can do that for you," right? She arrives home a few weeks later. She finishes the journey. You know, she hobbles across Spain. She comes home. She's literally limping for over a month. Eventually, the wounds heal. And when they heal, something unexpected happens. She wants to go back. Now, she doesn't want to just go back. She wants to go back with me. She says, "This is my dream," right? This is my dream. Now, let's keep this in mind. Of all the years that Karen and I have been together, not once have I ever looked at her and said, "Let's go for a walk." I've never, ever said that. Ever. So what in our history would make her think? But anyway, and I tell you what, I didn't say yes right away because I wasn't going to sign up for something that just didn't feel right to me. I knew this thing was physically grueling, and I don't put myself in the way of physically grueling voluntarily. That's just not my style. So, but 5 years later, I finally said yes. She didn't nag about it. She wasn't persistent about it. I just knew that dream was out there. And I came to the conclusion that if this is her dream to share this experience with me, I better do it while I'm maybe still physically capable to make this happen. And we spent a year in preparation, we got on the plane, and now we're on the path of the Camino together. Now there's an agony and an ecstasy to the Camino. The agony is the physicality of it. You're carrying large weights on your back, you're walking for extended periods of time, day after day after day, and typically speaking, the body is just not prepared to do that. I don't care how much you train to do that. The typical day on the Camino is you get up, you eat a little bit of breakfast, you dress very much like this, you strap on this backpack, and this is the backpack I had with me, and you begin to walk, and you keep walking, and you keep walking, and you keep walking. You stop only for small breaks, maybe to eat some lunch, and you keep walking. And eventually, mid to late afternoon, you're just looking for a place to stay. You are physically exhausted, you just want to sleep for the night. But you're not looking for a Marriott, you're not even looking for a Motel 6, you're looking for something called an albergue, which is a pilgrim house where you can, for a few euros, you can spend the night. And here's what it looks like. Oops. There we go. Not exactly 5-star accommodations, right? You stand in line hoping you can get one of these bunks. You stand in line to get to the showers. You stand in line so you can hand wash your clothes for the next day. And then you finally drop into one of these bunks and you sleep one of the most beautiful sleeps you can possibly imagine. Trouble-free, sound-free sleep, unless somebody's snoring. There's usually a snorer in the midst of the group. Now, you're not sleeping well because these mattresses are comfortable. I think some of these mattresses have been around for the whole 1,200 years of the Camino, I'm pretty sure, you know? You just sleep because you're exhausted. You get up the next morning and you do it all over again. But that doing it all over again is part of the ecstasy of the Camino. You're walking these beautiful trails. Suddenly the external noise of the world subsides. And with it, the internal noise of our thinking subsides. And suddenly you're hearing life in a whole different way. What I discovered on the Camino was sometimes life whispers to us. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And what it was trying to tell me for years, I just couldn't hear it through all the noise. And you settle into this beautiful place called the moment. Our whole lives have been a journey to this moment. Our whole lives. And I may miss it if I'm not present with it. And when you're in this moment, because on the Camino, your whole life is just the next step. And the next step. And you're always stepping into the moment. And there's a beauty, there's a symmetry, there's a harmony about it that's exquisite. And what I realized, we live a lot of times not living in the moment at all. We do a lot of what I call time traveling. We get our little time capsules and we go off into the past. And you know why we typically go off into the past? So we can experience pain that should be over with. It's called regret and resentment. Somebody said something 3 days ago, 30 years ago, and I'm still thinking about it. Or we get our little time capsules and we go off into the future. And the reason the human being typically goes off into the future is to experience pain that doesn't even exist yet. It's called worry. Let's just make stuff up. You know? Pain is part of the human experience. Suffering is optional. What I've come to truly believe, if you want to suffer, you have to leave the moment. Because 99.99999% of the time, every moment is exquisite, beautiful, perfect. But we have to be there to experience it. Now the message went on about travel light, because it was travel light mentally at first. I just got so comfortable being where I was. Just being where I was. And I'm still trying to hold on to that as I journey back into what we call civilization, everyday life. And I'm finding it's very, very doable. It's very, very possible. But the message went on. Travel light emotionally. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Travel light materially. Karen had been on this trip before. So we knew when you go on the Camino, only carry what's essential. But the problem is, what's essential? Seems like everything you pick up, well, that doesn't weigh much. We'll put that in there. Next thing you pick, that doesn't weigh much. We put that in there. And part of the challenge is we've been taught that everything is essential. The newest gadget, the newest thing, whatever it is, it's not just a luxury, it's essential. So we got over there. We were carrying a lot of weight on our backs. Just a couple of days in, we met a gentleman from South Africa. The beauty of the Camino is you see these people from all over the world. You don't travel together, but you eat together, you talk, you eat dinner together. And he was on his 4th Camino. He said the Camino had changed his life. He said he was a businessman. He said I couldn't get worry out of my head. He said the Camino cleared my mind. He said I come back here, replenish the well, and re-clear my thinking periodically. Now, what was interesting about this gentleman was he was 6'2". His backpack was half the size of this. Half the size of this. Man, he could just clip along. He was one of the very few pilgrims we met that had no physical injuries. And what he was telling us was, he says, you have to learn to really realize that everything weighs something. He said you never want to carry more than 10% of your body weight on your back. Your back is not made for carrying weight. That's not where you gain weight. You know? So he said anything over 10% is you're going to put stress on your body. And he said eventually something's going to break down, and we were all experiencing that. So the next day, I'm getting up and I'm putting on this backpack. And I had seen a movie called Up in the Air with George Clooney. Everybody ever seen that movie? His character in this movie asked an interesting question. The question was, how much does your life weigh? Interesting question. Well, when I was putting on that backpack that morning, I remember that question, and the answer was really obvious, too much. Because my life was in that backpack, and it weighed way too much. And it was almost like the Camino said, wait a minute, Ted, step back. There's more to that question. And immediately what came to mind was, it weighs too much on my back, and it weighs too much back home. I started thinking about all the stuff I've got in boxes, stuck under beds, stuck in closets, stuck in things I have not seen in years. Can you relate to that? I haven't seen them in years. How important could that stuff possibly be? I'll probably never see them. Somebody else will have to dig through them and say, what is this? You know? So I made a commitment, and I'm still in the process of doing that. Getting rid of stuff. Now, I looked up the full quote when I got back, and I carried it in a laminated form in my day planner because I want to kind of keep it in front of me. But here's what the character, his name was Ryan Bingham, played by George Clooney, said in that movie. He said, how much does your life weigh? Imagine for a second that you're carrying a backpack. I want you to pack it with all the stuff that you have in your life. You can start with the little things. The shelves, the drawers, the knickknacks. And then let's start adding some larger stuff. Clothes, tabletop appliances, lamps, TVs, laptops. The backpack should be getting pretty heavy by now. But let's go bigger. Your couch, your cars, your home. I want you to stuff it all into that backpack. Now tell me, how much does your life weigh? My answer was too much. Everything weighs something. We don't get to bring anything into our life for free, folks. We have to finance it. It weighs financially, it weighs physically, it weighs psychologically, and it weighs emotionally. And I'm telling you, the idea of just releasing stuff in your life is extraordinary. Extraordinary. We think it's just there, but it's not just there. It's there weighing us down. I'm not saying get rid of everything you own. I'm just saying, what do I have that's not really adding to the quality of my life? And if it's not adding to the quality of my life, why would I keep it? Maybe someone else can add to the quality of somebody else's life. Coco Chanel, the famous fashion designer who was known for these beautiful, elegant designs, made an interesting comment one time. She said, elegance is refusal. Isn't that great? She said, what makes my designs elegant is what I refuse to keep adding to them. What makes a room elegant is what we refuse to keep adding to it. And if it's true of a fashion design, if it's true of a room, it's probably true of a life. They tell you two of the qualities of elegance is beauty and simplicity. If I want a sense of beauty and simplicity in my life, maybe I need to refuse to keep adding things into my life. The message went on. Travel light, emotionally. There's a saying on the Camino, a tourist complains, a pilgrim is grateful. And I can't even tell you how true that is. You're grateful for every little thing on the Camino. Every taste of food tasted like it came from a 5-star restaurant. I don't care if it's just a hunk of salami and a stale piece of bread. It tasted amazing. Every little breeze on a hot day. And the temperatures on the Camino, for us, we traveled in September, ranged from over 100 on some days to the mid-30s on other days. So sometimes you're just grateful for gloves to put on your hands while you were walking. Everything was wonderful. But there was one pilgrim that took this to a whole different level. I call him the joyful pilgrim from Chile. I want to show you his picture. There he is. That's the guy. Okay? I never seen that guy without that smile. Ever. He would be pointing at the sun and just smiling. Next day, he might be pointing at the rain and smiling. He didn't speak any English. The only time I ever heard him say any English was when somebody said it's going to rain the next day. He broke into a beautiful rendition of Singing in the Rain by Gene Kelly. Just belting it out. Now you can't see this, but he was traveling the Camino in sandals. His feet were brutally injured, but he never stopped him. It was not unusual to see his wife tending to his wounds along the side of the path as you're walking by. And as she was tending to his wounds, he never lost a smile. Ever. He taught me that pain can be overcome by joy. He taught me that it's impossible to feel blessed and stressed at the same time. And he just chose blessed every moment of his existence when I saw him. I'm very grateful to the joyful pilgrim from Chile. But the message went one step further. Travel light in spirit. Small village, a Sunday morning. On Sunday morning, nobody's around in these villages. Karen and I were sitting at a small bench just trying to get some water, taking a morning break. There was another gentleman who was sitting down across the road from us. And suddenly we saw him get up and start coming toward us. And I thought maybe he needed something. But the interesting thing was when he got up, he didn't straighten up. He had two canes. And when he got up, he was like this. And he walked like this. And it took him a long time to come across this road from down the road to our side. And I thought maybe he needed something. So when he got there, I just kind of leaned over and smiled. But when he got to us, he just looked up. He held one cane up and he said, "Buen Camino." That was the greeting of the Camino. Enjoy the journey. Have a good Camino. And then he turned and walked away. He said, "Buen Camino." He did all that to say "Buen Camino" to two people he would never see the rest of his life. I want to show you the picture of this gentleman. You kind of see him in the shadows there as he is walking away. He's taught me to look up. Look people in the eye. Give them a smile. Give them a word of encouragement. It may be the only smile they'll get that day. It may be the smile that gets them through the day. The beautiful bent man with the uplifting spirit. So to Karen, the adventurous love of my life, who took me on an unexpected journey that was everything I never knew I wanted, I want to say Buen Camino. To the joyful pilgrim from Chile with the ever grateful heart, I just want to say Buen Camino. To the beautiful bent man with the uplifting spirit, I just want to say Buen Camino. The Camino was very patient. It took 28 days, 350 miles to teach me. Finally, I just want to say to you, my fellow pilgrims on this Camino of life, let's enjoy the journey. Let's travel light. Let's enjoy the moment. Buen Camino. Thank you very much. Thank you.